Right, let's go, everybody. We're going to get started. So, thank you for coming. I'm so honored that you shared your time with me. Let's go. I'm going to share how I beat imposter syndrome as a woman doc because the forces are strong that tell us that we have to be quiet and be less than and keep up with other people, and we have stronger judgment against us. And so there's a lot of, settings in the culture that kind of beat down that imposter syndrome message to us. I just want to share with you 9 things that really meant a lot to me, help me navigate and move forward. Let's do this. Okay, busy women docs, so we are moving, we are shaking. We're busy, we're tired, right? We're doing a lot of things. So today's the day. Let's figure out some long-lasting solutions. We're here to learn. There's nothing wrong. It's just there is a situation out there, so there's persistent gender inequities. We go to the same school, we take the same classes, and yet here we are, but you're rock stars, like you're doing amazing things. I'm going to go over the literature that suggests that women docs have amazing outcomes in the patient care outcomes and in surgery and clinical. But we're tired, we're toast and you're toast, and it's hard out there. I just did a big retreat for a whole department, hundreds of docs and APPs. And, there's a lot of challenges. People come up to me after, like, how do you handle it? What should I do? I'm seeing 40 patients. I'm seeing 25 patients. Somebody was sick and they needed to go see a doctor urgently, and they were having trouble getting their own patients covered. So there's a lot of challenges for women docs out there. But, who is this for? This is for you, for the people who want to help and stay creative and acknowledge your accomplishments. You've done a lot of things, but you want to keep growing, but you want some guidance. Like, what could work? I like to talk to other people, go look in other, industries and see how other people handle it, because I don't feel like we have the answers right now in medicine. There's a lot of burnout and a lot of emotional distress right now in medicine. So I don't think we have the answers. So maybe other people do. So I just keep looking in the research, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. We want support. We want to feel like we have a safe community to be in, to explore new things, to learn new things and feel safe. Because when we're learners, we don't feel great. Like we're floundering, we're figuring things out. And that's how life is, right? Like we have to continue to learn. And that's what's amazing about medicine, is that there's always something to learn, but professional development or putting these things into place, they're scary. We can feel scared. I run a business called Brain Fresh, and I also co-run a business called Brain Ops Group. And I have women docs come into some of my programs, and they tell me they're scared to join one of my courses or to join something because they're learners, and that feels scary. And that's okay. We're going to talk about the neuroscience of this imposter syndrome, where we just don't feel like we have the true plan for the next steps, or that we belong, or that we're enough. So, but we want to feel impactful and we want to feel valued, right? So here in this masterclass, we're going to learn 9 steps to work around that imposter syndrome, because the brain gives us certain messages, and we're going to learn how to work around it. We're going to learn about the power of brain wonder. How can we just wonder a little bit so that we can, keep moving forward in our profession? And a nice framework that can help us move forward in medicine. I want to share what I use to help me navigate, kind of like a GPS. And I use neuroscience tools and strategies to use as a GPS for me to make some sense in medicine, because it's hard. It's hard to make sense. And we want to, I kept trying to follow other people's paths, and it wasn't my path. And so that's why I want to share with you a framework so you can, design your own path. And today we're going to talk about solutions to help us find joy and purpose and meaning professional. Isn't it amazing when you have a day and you're like, "Yeah, that meant a lot. Like that was a great day. I feel like I really mattered to someone. I know I'm here. I know why I put all this energy toward this." So thanks everybody for coming. This is what we're going to learn in this masterclass. And I'm going to try to keep it just really, of course it's a Saturday and you're tired, and hopefully you get some time to recharge. But I just want to dive into some of the literature in regards to navigating a stressful environment like healthcare, or an environment like healthcare that has a high risk of burnout. So let's talk about what they talk about in the business sense, is how do you figure out the culture that you're in? It's like A glacier. So the white is what we see in healthcare, and that's just the very obvious things. Like for me in neurology, it would be a reflex hammer, it would be a lab coat, it would be an MRI. If somebody saw those symbols, they would know it was healthcare. Maybe you're more of a surgeon, or you're, in a clinic or in the hospital. Those are the obvious things for the culture that you see. When you're in healthcare that there is a goal for health, and to help people with disease and hopefully to prevent diseases. And then the middle is the norms and the norms and the values. So what is the normal thing to do in that environment? So that's how you understand a culture. It helped me a lot to kind of slow down and think about the culture of medicine. Very obvious things like we know when we see emergency room or a hospital floor, obviously healthcare. But what are the norms? And so, generally it's patient safety, patient care, and then healthcare worker health and healthcare worker professional well-being and healthcare workers, tapping into neuroscience strategies. Are those the norms? I don't know. It probably depends on where you work. And then the hardest thing to get at are the things that are way deep down, like a glacier. And those are the assumptions or beliefs. Like, what do we believe about healthcare? What do we believe as a doc in medicine? What do we believe? A lot of times we're taught, to don't listen to your biologic needs, take care of the patients. Don't go to the bathroom. Don't have a baby now, don't go on vacation. It's all about patient care. So we have to, just kind of realize like the messages that we get, and we have to, be very careful about patient safety and healthcare, right? So we don't want to take a risk because of malpractice and patient safety. Like, risk management is everything in healthcare. But the interesting thing to know about that is when we're talking about our professional development and trying something new, learning something new, for us as a human who wants to try something new or learn something new, we don't have to have the same level of risk management. If we want to take a new class or take a new course or come today to a webinar, we don't have to have that same high level alert of risk management, right? We want to think about what are those beliefs that are driving our behaviors. I think medicine is sometimes like this image, like where the beautiful flowers trying to float in medicine, and we are trying to make it happen. And culture is like what is underneath the surface there. And there's mud and there's organic compounds and proteins, and the flowers are obviously thriving, but it's hard to understand what exactly is under the surface, right? So what is it like for medicine for you today? I'll start with me. I'm a neurologist. It's hard, and neurology is one of the highest level of fields with burnout for some reason in Mayo's Well-Being Index, and that's a little confusing. But maybe it is because some of our patients with cognitive, difficulties, it affects their whole being, right? It affects their relationships, their work, their home. Maybe other diseases are more, I don't know, limited in how they affect the patient. I don't know. This is just my assumption. When you ask neurologists directly, and this is from a survey back in 2019, so even before COVID, there was 42% of the people had symptoms of burnout, and these were women neurologists. And they were saying they don't have sufficient time to document at work. They found their environment where they work very highly stressful. They didn't find a lot of control over work and a lot of gender discrimination. But on the flip side, there's many studies now, surgical studies and clinical studies, ICU studies, showing that women docs, like, they do a good job, so looking at practice patterns and outcomes, and very positive outcomes, more likely to adhere to clinical guidelines, preventative care, cancer-specific prevention services, high patient-centered communication, spend time with their patients, form a relationship. So good stuff. So women docs are doing great stuff. So does this sound like you, that you're trying to think of that day you got into medical school? I think of that day, like, called my parents, opened the letter. And now, like, you go to work thinking like, oh, how am I going to get through today? How am I going to just make it through all these patients and all the messages and all the things, but you're looking for opportunities. Like, there must be some way to hope for some joy, or feel a little stuck, like not sure of the next steps. I mean, I definitely felt this myself, and I was looking around and I just wasn't sure what the next steps. And I was asking everybody, like, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? So then I went to other industries and I dug in the literature. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. And do you wish someone would bring a cool idea for you? Like, how do you find some excitement, some growth opportunities at work? And you're just sick of those annual reviews because it's the same stuff. Like, how can we help you? And then nothing changes at work. And do you wish someone really understood what you went through each day at work? If someone actually kind of watched you like a documentary and be like, geez, you got to go through all that with insurance, prior auths, all the stuff and things I never learned in medical school that, just going into medicine is a high risk profession for burnout, which can lead to depression. And we just had like Physician Suicide Awareness Day. And I didn't know any of this going into I was so excited to get into medical school. I didn't have anyone in my family that was in medicine. And it was just a dream. I didn't know if it could be real. Um, but I didn't know neuroscience tools can help us navigate this profession, and they can even be fun. They can bring clarity. They can help us feel like we're growing. I mean, one of my new favorite words is vitality, because as I was looking up well-being and professional wellness and this kind of thing, I like the word vitality because it means, you have the capacity to live or to, flourish in your work, but also to develop. So we keep new things, so an energy towards what's possible. And you don't have to wait to be chosen, quote unquote, for growth opportunities at work. You can feel valuable. You can dictate your own growth, your own development. That's one thing I always loved, is just learning something new. And at work, it seemed like you had to be kind of picked or chosen to keep growing. And I just wasn't all right with that. I just wasn't okay with the status quo. I don't know if anyone wants to put it in the chat. I'm going to put it in the chat, but I'm going to monitor the chat. But what year do you think burnout was first talked about? And I'm wondering, how close this was to when you went to med school. If anyone wants to put it in the chat. Let's see. Well, are you surprised? Ta-da! 1974. I was not 10. I'll say that. I was young. It was a single digits. So it's just really upsetting, to think that burnout's been talked about all this time. We obviously are talking about it more these days, but it's been around for a long time. I think the other thing that's upsetting is the AAMC has looked at, that yes, indeed, healthcare, various healthcare industries and hospital systems are putting together well-being champions, but they don't have a lot of training or funding to even be successful in those roles. And I've even met well-being champions that have burned out and left medicine. So I think that if we give someone a certain title, we need to give them training, training, funding, and support so they can really thrive in that role. I see the problem as there's no brain class. There's no class that we learn on how to build neural strategies, because we are in a high-risk profession for burnout, which can lead to depression or us wanting just to get out. There's no brain meters and get up, like you go through a monitor and they say, oh, you need a little more sleep or nutrition or rest, or you need more fun, or you need to call a good friend, so there's like nothing that's kind of assessing that for us until there's a problem, right? And then we go, maybe you talk to a counselor, maybe you talk to a coach, but I don't see anyone consistently putting things into place before to prevent burnout. And I don't think we talk enough, in my opinion, about the connection of our emotional balance, our ideas, and our creativity, how all of those will influence our perceptions, like how likely we are to solve problems. And I didn't learn these things in med school, that work can help us feel important, and it can help us feel really useful in our communities. And work can have a positive or a negative effect on our brain health and brain consequences. And there are some things that we need to do to give the brain more support when we want to learn. I've read some great researchers who have discussed this brain-body balance. So when you're a learner, when you're working hard, you need to make sure you're also giving your brain what it needs to support its neurometabolic needs. So once you adapt to these 9 things, I'm hoping that you feel less stuck and confused and disorganized or frustrated, that you have like a clear framework to follow, that you could feel empowered, you could feel informed, you could feel enthusiastic because you have a new GPS to follow, and you could feel brave. Brave is not that you're not scared. Brave is just you're willing to take a step, like just coming on this today or listening to this today. It's a brave step just to look in or soak in something new. And you feel courageous. Again, courageous is not that you don't have fear. Fear is there, but courageous is, okay, you're willing to take an action, right? And to feel valued. It just feels amazing to feel like, yeah, you went to all that school for some reason, you have knowledge, you bring your skills, and you bring all of your, you're almost like a cake, right? So you're like all your scars and your learning and your life experience and your culture and your background, you're like a cake with all those that you bring to the situation. And it makes you special and you're valued because you have all those perspectives. So who am I? I'm Dr. Mary Rensel, and I have 4 kids. And my baby, who's the tall guy in the picture on the left, that's my youngest. He just went to college, so I'm a new empty nester. It's my husband in the lower right, and my kid and some of my kids. And I started a business because I was frustrated, and I just thought, this is silly. Like, we're smart people, we can figure this out and support each other in our professional growth, because so many people felt stuck. So right now I have a business called Brain Fresh, and I support women docs in nourishing and flourishing in medicine. I also have a business called Brain Ops Group with Allie Hively, who's a life coach, and she's in the upper right. I think maybe my screen's is blocking her. That's us when we had our masks on. But we made some nurse support programs and support programs for caregivers. Again, just digging into the neuroscience. How can we, really make it very understandable, tangible? She's a life coach. She just makes it really practical when you're really super busy. So this is me in a nutshell. I'm still working as a neuroimmunologist, and I have these other businesses that I do on my day off. And I've really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed the growth. And so I'm hoping that you get something from this. Who's ready to hear these 9 steps so you feel empowered? And I think, why is it important? I want for you more than anything else to remember your power, so that you feel empowered through these 9 steps. Because when you feel empowered, you feel like you're like rocking it and living it and owning it. And that's really important. It's really important to remember that you can take actions even if they feel scary, because we have neuroplasticity, right? We can keep moving. So almost like, lobes of the brain, we're going to have different areas we're going to talk about today. How can we give the brain what it needs, kind of prime it, get it ready to kind of soak in some new information so that we call it, brain, I like to call it brain priming, and then aligning. So align with our brain power. So those are our gifts and our strengths and our need to belong. And then designing a career path that uses both of those when our brain is ready and aligning with our gifts and strengths. And how do we feel and act courageous in our career design? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this here and then jump on and share a whiteboard with you so we can kind of map this out, this plan. Let us grab this. I'm going to do maybe this one. Templates. We're going to do okay. Let's start with, where's my favorite? We're going to start here. Okay. So we're going to talk about our meeting goals. So it's not really meeting goals necessarily, but it's like our brain goals, our professional development goals. Okay. So let's do this. All right. Let's go. All right. So we are going to look at this. Just go here. So, let's start with, we want to say, okay, how do we help you feel like you're rocking it, right? Rocking it, living it. This is like in referring to feeling empowered. Rocking it, living it, owning it. Sometimes I just feel like I don't have any agency anymore. You just kind of get in there, do your work. So let's go with this. So rocking it. So how can we do that? So let's talk about, get my notes so I don't forget anything. We're going to talk about priming. We'll start with priming. And what we do in Brain Fresh with priming is we talk about finding fun. So that's number 1. So how do we remember or squeeze in fun into our lives? Because fun is a great neurologic setting. And we're going to get into that. And how do we fine tune during our busy days? And how do we, I like to call it protect your melon. See, get spell that correctly. So it's almost like cybersecurity. Okay. So finding your fun means that as a busy doc, we have to schedule fun into our days. Like my husband and I, we just started with just kind of having a fun meeting so we could book it out a little bit, because we used to, with all the kids home, we used to just have so many things in our days. We didn't really have to book a lot of things, but now we have to book it, right? And then let's go with aligning. So how do we align with our gifts and our strengths? How do we live in it? We want to, know our guardrails. So we have like strengths and we have values that are important to us. So this is what we dig into in my monthly membership called Hammock. So we dig into these 9 steps: how to find fun and why that's important, how to fine tune your neural balance throughout the day so that you can have your focus, you can help your fine tune your productivity so that you know how to intentionally put a little rest spots throughout the day so that you can focus and get your work done more quickly. And then how do we realize and say what we need to say yes or no to, right? So those are our guardrails. So what are our strengths? What are our values? This is what we dig into in my monthly membership called Hammock. So it's a productivity, time management membership for women docs so that we can go through this together and learn together. So the guardrails, that will help us know what to say yes or no to. We dig into our strengths and we go over that, and I will share how to do that. And then we have to believe in belonging. And what does that mean? That means that we need to feel like we belong. And if we don't, I give you some tools to work on that, because if we don't feel like we belong, the brain will not be in its most creative state. So that's something we definitely want to work on, is realizing, do we belong there? How do we assess the culture, like we started with a little bit? And then the next steps are designing. So let's go here. And number 3 is the third group is designing. How do we design a career path that's interesting to us? It honors our full values, our strengths, and we feel like we belong there, that we are a value member of that team. So what do we need to do to encourage our designing? We need to be courageous, right? So we need to build our courage. And how do we do that? We do that by taking action. How do we realize the value of anger? So that was very interesting to me when I was reading the burnout literature, is that anger has value. So what does that mean? So that means that anger, when we feel angry, it gives us some energy toward changing something. It also shines a spotlight on what's really important to us. So if something's making you really angry, it's good to kind of step back, maybe journal about it or what have you. But this is what we do in Brain Hammock to help us know what our next steps are. And then we want to expand our team. So we all should have a team of supportive people around us, people that challenge us, people that respect us and hold us accountable, right? So when we look at these and we go over these with my clients, a lot of times we say, okay, well, how are you looking on the brain design, the priming? Are you green? Are you red? Are you more in the black? And not so much. So a lot of times people say, oh, my priming, I'm going to do it sometimes, not really. Okay, actually I'm in the red. So we work on that with my clients in Brain Fresh. How about aligning? Do you know your values, your strengths? Like I just did that retreat yesterday, and we did a value worksheet and a little activity, and people were like, that was really good. I really hadn't done that before. That really helped me. And one lady even whispered to me, I love this. She was like sitting in the front, and everyone, just like this whole room of 300 people, took a quiet moment. They had handouts, so they were just kind of working on it. So I would say probably that's not in the green. People don't really know, they can't just rattle off their values. And we do that within, Hammock, so that you know exactly what's kind of supporting your brain and what means something to you, right? And the next one is design. Like, how solid do you feel on figuring out your next career steps? Like, what do you use to design your next career steps? Are you in the green with that one? Are you in the red? So a lot of people are still in the red. So this is what we work with in Brain Hammock, is to figure out these next steps. And then why are they important? So let's just stay in the prime area. Why is fun important? Well, work can be frustrating. It can be lonely. It has a high risk of burnout. And sometimes you just work nonstop, right? And so we need to do something to help our focus, to help us rebalance. It can bring our positive emotional state back, because sometimes it's so hard. We're just so exhausted after a very busy day. How does it work? Well, we build connections when we have fun. It's a physical state. It's a non-judgmental state. It helps us to have positive interactions with other people. So all in all, it puts our brain in an amazing state, a very positive state. So what's some proof of that? Well, there's a great book called Love 2.0 by a psychological researcher, Dr. Barbara Fredrickson. The book is Love 2.0, or she has another book called Positivity. So I would check any of those. I also have some YouTube videos on 12 steps that she suggests to put the brain more in a positive light so we can see more options throughout the day. So another way to brain prime. So, and there's also a book called The Power of Fun, The Power of Fun. And that also goes through the science of fun, which is really amazing. So it really does go over in detail, the power of fun. So you can't leave it to chance, right? So you want to make sure you book that into your calendar throughout your week. And what does it do to you when we learn how to brain prime? It gives us clarity and focus, and we don't waste time on things that don't matter, don't help us get our brain in the right state so that we can have productive days, right? Now, what do you think about fine-tuning the brain? Why is that important? Well, when our moods are, when we ask our brain, like, focus all day, never stop focusing, it's very stressful, right? Because we become tired. We probably have low glucose after so long. Our brain is exhausted. And hours of asking our brain just to work, work, work. It's magical thinking, right? The brain is not endless. It is an organ and it needs some support throughout the day. So if we learn how to manage our neural state throughout the day, this is what we learn in Hammock, the membership, the productivity and time management membership I run for women docs. We learn how to enhance our focus, enhance, something called our positive state so that we can be more creative. And, the goal is like, get your work done faster so you can get out and have fun with your family or friends. And there's a wonderful book by Dr. Boyatzis called Resonant Leadership. And he talks a lot about this, that we need to learn how to work with our neural state, to link our goals to what's really important to us, to our emotional intelligence. So there's a lot that can be done to help us rebalance throughout the day. So if you get home and you're just exhausted, you have nothing left, we really need to talk about fine tuning and priming the brain so that you can get your work done without getting exhausted, right? And then what about the protect your melon? That's still in priming. So we're still talking just about getting our brain ready so that it can see more options, so that it feels like it can be really productive and it can nail its time management throughout the day, right? So the brain is our essence, right? It makes us us. It helps us to work. It helps us to serve. It helps us to learn and to earn for our family and to support ourselves. So a lack of knowledge on how to protect it is really risky, right? I mean, hopefully you're saving for retirement, you have saving account in case something goes wrong, but what do we do to protect our melon, to protect our amazing brain? Because we are in a knowledge economy and we work because our brain is working. So we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to keep it working at its highest level to optimize it. So burnout is really prevalent in healthcare. And so that's another reason to really, to honor that the brain indeed needs care. We have to protect our melon, right? And then, so we want to do whatever we can to decrease the burnout risk, because the risk of burnout now is somewhere like 40 to 70% for healthcare workers. So we use these tools to kind of fortify, protect the brain because we are in a high risk profession. So that's what that means to us. So an empowered doc is someone that's rocking it, living it, owning it. And in order to have an empowered brain, or put your brain in an empowered state, you need these three things: to prime, to align, and to design. And if you don't have them, we're going to stay stuck, tired, and confused, right? So the first step is to acknowledge that we need to prime, align, and then design. And this is what we do in Hammock, which is my productivity time management course for women docs. Okay, so I'm going to stop this. So we talked about this and what we can do day to day. I'm going to share my slides again. So why don't you share in the chat like your favorite step? What do you think? What was your favorite? Let's see. And read the chat. All right. People like priming. People like designing. I like the thought of like designing a career path for, yeah, like a great trip, right? Yeah, like design a career path with like the intention of a great trip. I'm on it. I'm gonna have a great time. This is what I want to see on this trip, and these are the steps I have to take, and these are the resources I need to get there. So I think thinking about career design like put as much energy and focus as you do a great trip. I think it makes a lot of sense. That's what we do in Hammock. Okay, here's what we've learned. Steps to make sense of the challenges in medicine, some insight into the culture of medicine, how brain wonder can help guide us when we work in a high-risk profession, that many of our colleagues are in emotional distress and it's contagious to us. So that's why we need to fortify, just like we talked about that brain priming. We need to put to protect our melon, right? Because we're kind of swimming in a soup of a really high risk burnout, unfortunately, for healthcare workers. And there is a clear neuroscience framework that has helped me and a lot of my clients, to help navigate a career in medicine. Learning from other professions can also help us navigate. So that's what I do. I go and get research and share that with you within my productivity membership. And there are solutions to help us find purpose, help us find meaning. So I like to call this, brain wonder, like the acronym PAD. So we prime, we align, we design. And just if you want to get some new results, this is the way we can do it, right? So you have a choice today. So you can take action or you can maintain the status quo. I started this masterclass saying, I wasn't okay with the status quo as I knew it, and I needed to go get some new information and take some new action because it wasn't okay with me to keep watching these same patterns. So how are you? Like, do you have a choice? What are you going to do today? Are you going to build a hammock of support for yourself since we do work in this high-risk profession? And the literature suggests that we involve both emotional intelligence and skill building for adults. We can then have more of a successful path. So this is what we do within Hammock is that we build, we link to what's important to us, meaning at work, purpose, our values, our strengths, because when you don't, the studies suggest, you're just not going to have sustained improvement. And so that's great. As adults, we can still learn. If we take these actions, there's a high rate of success, 40 to 75%. So feel free to take a picture of the QR code. Let me get this out of the way. Move it down. So I have a picture of these Girl Scouts here because I was a Girl Scout leader, and I feel like this is, kind of what I'm doing here is just making sure that I leave this better than I found it, because that's one of our Girl Scout just mantras is when we camp or whatever we did, we tried to leave the place better than we found it. And I didn't want to just leave medicine without trying to make it better. So that's why I did build this productivity and time management course and membership for women doctors. So if you joined today during the webinar, you can use this coupon code called Surprise. You can put that in, take a picture of the QR code and go ahead and put in Surprise. You'll get an amazing discount. Let's go. And so next steps, if you're just wishing for some more support, some new ideas, some new strategies, I got you. So come on in and join Hammock. There's a link there to click. The QR code is here. Let me get off of this just in case I'm blocking your QR code. And then what it will do is then you click enroll, register for the course, and then you'll start to get emails about the next steps. And if you use the coupon Surprise, you'll get a good break, and it's only good during this webinar. But if you use the coupon STAT, you'll have a week to think about it. So if you want to join the membership, my productivity time management membership, I call Hammock, use the coupon STAT, STAT. You will get 10% off for the next week. So just know that will end in a week. So you have about a week to think about it. But if you use Surprise, you get 30% off today. All right. Well, thank you for your time and your attention, and I wish you well. And please reach out. My email is thebrainfresh@gmail.com. And I would love to interact with you and learn more about you and your current challenges. So feel free to email me. I'm glad to set up a call. We can chat and see what exactly is going on and then how I can support you. All right, guys. Thanks for all you do. You're doing amazing work out there. You got this.